Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. Thank you for joining us on episode 211 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with Trevor and David. How's it going, guys?
It's going good. Well, it's going okay. It's snowing outside, but I guess that's normal for me this time of year.
Oh gosh.
I saw Disneyland got snow this last week. Yeah.
What were you going to say,
aside?
I haven't seen snow in a while. I don't think we've seen any snow this year, really.
No, we haven't had snow in quite a long time, actually. Yeah,
since last year. So we won't. It doesn't look like we'll get any this year based on when we are in the year. So I think we'll be good.
Well, I think like what Disneyland, well, in LA, that whole area had a blizzard warning for the first time ever in history or something. It was weird.
Mm-hmm. Which the funny thing is, and I'm not downplaying it because it is serious and people can get hurt, but I still find it funny, like what they classify as a blizzard warning further south up here is like snow on a Thursday.
Is it nothing?
Like,
yeah.
Like if I was in LA, I'd be like, okay, cool. I'll put on a jacket, I guess. But I understand when you're not used to it, how like it is bad for infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not downplaying it, but I still think it's funny because I'm used to it.
It's totally different for you, right? So
I've been super busy, right? I get to plug all my stuff now, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. I have stuff to plug.
Do that.
So got the What's in My Attic YouTube videos that first one's out. There is something Disney in there, but I'm saying is I've already started recording the second one, and there's questions about Disney items in there. There's stuff from my childhood that like I think I have some sort of time frame on it, but I think they were at the parks. Like I'm trying to like piece together when my first trip to the parks was, because I went with my aunt and uncle and I flew home by myself. And it was funny because I think I was so young and my parents were like, well, back then you could do that. You could, fly home at a 7-8-year-old by yourself. And it was cool. And I was
just
like,
throw them on a plane. It's cool.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what happened. But the air people were super nice to me, right? And they're looking out for me because I was so young. But again, there's some items in there that were interesting. And it's been fun. It's definitely been a fun thing. I'm kind of learning as I go, but that's been fun. My son performed this weekend for the first time in front of some record executives. That was fun. And we got some swimming coming up, and it's been busy. I've been trying to stay up a little bit longer though. That's like been my whole thing with all this. Like I realized like I have to stay up longer because I just have so much more to do. I have to get into a new habit.
So wait, like what's late though? Is like 8:30?
No, I mean, so normally like I'd like to be like getting into bed at like 8:30 and then maybe watching TV for like an hour and a half. And now it's more like getting to bed at 10, like, and then watching TV for like an hour. Yeah. It's late for me, man. I can't do it all the time, but I feel like I can do it every once in a while to kind of bully through some stuff. But yeah, the video did well. So I think that I've gotten some feedback that it really shouldn't be every month. And I think I might have to switch over to twice a month, but not until at least another month away. I still have to learn so much stuff doing videos, but it's been fun. It makes me want us to have a podcast. Like what would be the best thing if someone would animate the podcast for each episode? Like, wouldn't that be great?
I've thought about that too.
Yeah. It would be super expensive because they're so long.
Right. Because I've seen other like YouTube accounts and stuff where that but the thing is that it usually happens because like a fan will just do it. Like it's not like they're commissioning it. It's just people.
Yeah, I mean you could get that work done and it would be kind of fun, but it would be a lot of money. But it would be kind of cool, I feel like. If we make it huge, then like Oddballs, like that guy is awesome, right? Like, and that's on Netflix now. That's so cool. But something where they just did an animation of all of us and spliced it together with our audio, and just that would be awesome. I'm trying to teach my daughter, like she's been doing a lot of artwork stuff, and I'm in my head, I'm like, ooh, wait, maybe when she gets really good, she does. So now I'm like, could she do animation? Could I, get her on that animation kick? So we'll see, but that would be great.
I'm also terrified of how people could interpret our conversations as animation, because there's so many things that we say that like in the moment, it like just stream of thought things that you don't even think about, right? And somebody can just take it and again, not like turn it into something bad, but just like
that's not what I was really thinking, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How many times have we seen memes after the show and it was like, wait, I said that? I don't remember saying that. Like, or I didn't mean it like that, you know? So yeah, I know what you're saying. That would be concerning.
I'm curious and terrified at the same time.
Yeah. So anything else you want to promote, Damon, before we talk about what we just added last minute here, because we were all kind of buzzing about this?
I was on Boomtron this week too. This is my second podcast of the day.
You were on Boomtron?
Wow.
I thought you'd like quit that show.
No, so we moved over to Zencaster. Yeah, and we can get more people on it now.
Yeah.
So I did an episode on Outer Banks.
Okay. Well, that's good that you're back on your other show. How long has it been since that happened?
I don't know. The problem is that I can't watch television like that so quickly anymore, except every once in a while.
Yeah.
So like, I know people like binge shows and like watch them in 2 nights, but I just can't do that. And then there was just some shows that they weren't interested in that I was. So like Alice in Borderland, which again, I'm going to go on record as maybe the best show on Netflix. There, okay, boom, I said it. That's it.
I'm there with you, man. I really am. It's a fantastic show.
But like they didn't watch that, but they watched something else. They watch it in like a week. Like they're all teachers, so like maybe they have more free time than me. And I thought I don't know. Maybe
you have less free time usually.
That's what I would think. That's what I would think. But I don't know. Maybe they're like, oh, here's a lesson plan, and let me catch an episode of Outer Banks. Like I don't know what's going on in their classrooms. I don't know. But I can't usually do it that fast.
I was just talking to my wife because like, for whatever reason, like this month, like a bunch of shows that we watch are coming back, like for a new season, right? Like Yellow Jackets, Ted Lasso.
I still haven't even watched that, which I know is like, I know I like it. I just haven't gotten there yet.
So good. I'm really excited for that one to come back. So Yellow Jackets coming back. Ted Lasso's coming back.
I'm iffy on Ted Lasso. I'll be honest with you. I tried to get into it for a third time, and I'm just iffy on it.
Yeah, that's that's I guess not surprising. I don't know anybody who hasn't watched it and been into it. So I mean,
I don't know. Like I feel like it's got everything that I want.
Yeah, you should.
It's not. Listen, it's not bad. It's just that like after I'm done with an episode, I'm not like, oh, I got to watch more. I'm like, okay, cool.
Well, and now Mandalorian's back, and from what I've heard, I didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, and I've heard you have to watch like 2 episodes of Book of Boba Fett to watch the new Mandalorian.
I watched Book of Boba Fett. I haven't watched the new Mandalorian yet. It's on my list of things to do as well.
Yeah, so that one's on my list, and I got to watch. I've heard you got to basically just watch the last 2 episodes of Boba Fett.
I guess that would make sense.
Yeah. Which I didn't realize they were tying those shows together, but I guess it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, what else? There's just a bunch of shows like coming back.
So yeah, I mean the thing that I'm kind of looking forward to is KIF.
That's the one you've been talking about.
Yeah. So I'm still looking forward to that. I think that's in like a week or 2, so that will be definitely fun to watch. And Big City Greens was back yesterday. Well, by the time they hear this Monday, Saturday, it's back. The first, they do 2 11-minute episodes. I think the first 11-minute episode was not great. Second one was pretty good. So
okay. Well, the other thing we wanted to talk about was so Disney put out a teaser trailer, which they called it a teaser trailer, but it was usually a teaser I feel like is a little shorter than what they put out. I feel like they almost put out a full trailer basically for the Haunted Mansion movie, which is coming this summer. What is it, July? I think
July 28th, I believe, is the release date.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I had low expectations for this because the last Haunted Mansion movie they tried just was not good, right? So
yeah,
I didn't really know what to expect from this. And, I have to say, and I saw the internet was kind of seeing this as a good trailer as well. Like it wasn't just Disney people, it was other people that were kind of really digging this. And I'm a little surprised because if you haven't watched it, go watch it. But because we'll probably do. I mean, I don't know. Can you spoil the trailer? I don't know.
No,
but,
you can't.
You can't. Right? Go watch.
If you can't spend 2 minutes watching a trailer, that's on you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I was pleasantly surprised because they've kind of led with the horror side of it, right? Like,
yes, that's great because that's I think what we were missing. So, kind of as a little bit of a tie-in, Secrets of Sulphur Springs is coming back. I know that a lot of people watch that as well. And it's the same sort of vibe. Like Secret Sulphur Springs this next season looks scary. And I'm all about that. And I think for Haunted Mansion, I'm all about that as well. Plus, the cast is ridiculous, right? They went all out.
Amazing. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I was never a huge Danny DeVito fan. I'm going to be honest with you. Really just wasn't. And then I started watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I'd never seen before. And that's a show that like I keep watching like 4 episodes a night, 5 episodes a night. And I'm almost done with that. And he's just so good there. Really is. And I think that now like... the talent that they have is ridiculous, right? Yeah.
I mean, I started watching Danny DeVito, excuse me, on Taxi.
So, back in Taxi,
yeah, right. The funny thing is Danny DeVito, like he's been in so many movies that I've seen over the years. He's not always front and center, but like when I see his name, I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be good, or I've never had any problem with anything he's been featured in.
Yeah.
So, and then, when I saw he was in this, I'm like, oh, right. Okay. This is, he'll bring something to it. Right.
Well, it has that, the trailer itself has this perfect vibe of being just scary-ish enough. Right. And again, trailers can be cut anyway. So we can only base it on the trailer, not on what the movie is. So when you go back and listen to us, if the movie was terrible, not our fault, but the way that it's cut gives you the scariness, but not so scary that, you don't want to watch it, and the humor. And that's what you're expecting is, when it's Disney and it's a ride and it's Haunted Mansion, kind of like Jungle Cruise, you want that little bit of humor with what you're getting. And I think that this cut shows us a really good job of that. Plus, again, when you have, Owen Wilson, Danny DeVito, Dan Levy,
Rosario
all
Dawson's
these people,
in
Tiffany
it.
Haddish, you have all these people, you kind of expect that. So I'm hopeful that it's that way.
They didn't even touch on Jamie Lee Curtis being in it as well.
Jamie Lee Curtis is in it? I didn't even know.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
I'm not going to spoil that for you then, Tom. You can find out.
Oh man, spoil. Yeah. No. To your point, Damon, like the ride itself is a mix of scary and funny, right? And like there's a really like thin line between, like they really kind of toe that line, and they do it so well in the ride. And for them to do the movie that way and actually, from the trailer at least, seem to accomplish that is hard. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that they went really hard horror with it, and then also, but like you said, it wasn't that scary. It was scary enough, and then also had the humor there.
Yeah, and I think that as we continue, right, as movies progress, and we just look at the Eddie Murphy one versus this one, I think that the overall feel of it feels more ride oriented than the original did, and I think it's more just of a money, technology, filming vibe, right? That could be a lot of producer, whatever it is, it just feels more like the ride. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that, but
it's not forced is what I think it is. The from what I gathered from the trailer. So the things, if you know the ride, you quickly picked out there's some of the hallmark ghosts of the ride. Like there was even a quick preview of the Hatbox Ghost, which I know you guys haven't really seen yet, but I know it, and I'm like, this is how they're going to tie in, the Hatbox Ghost coming to Florida. That's.
I wouldn't be surprised if it happens around the same time. I feel like they're going to do it at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see that, but then also, things like the stretching room, like it seems, it feels like they worked it into the movie, but in such a way, kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean, where it was like, they used effects from the ride as effects in the movie, but they didn't force it the same way that the Eddie Murphy one did. Unfortunately, like it seemed very like the Eddie Murphy one was like they had like a checklist of we need to just do these and just okay, it'll go in here kind of thing, right? And this feels a lot more organic, and it actually, the cool thing is that I feel like the way that they did Pirates and the way that this is shaping up is. It almost, for younger fans, they'll question whether or not the movie or the ride came first. And I think that's the best place for them to be in on this, because you don't want it to be that, they made a ride about a movie or they made a movie about a ride. Like you want them to be two cohesive things that work together. Right. So,
So just again, from a high level byline, right. So it's going to be about a woman and her son who enlist a motley crew of so-called, right? And I think that's the key part, so-called spiritual experts to help rid their home of supernatural squatters, right? And that's where we get that injection of humor, I think, that we're going to be seeing, right? And I think that's where it will be fun. It's going to be fun.
It's very much Ghostbusters, if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that one scene they showed, like, with the long hallway, that, like, I feel like if you didn't know that they didn't film it in the ride, like, you would have felt like they filmed it in the ride. Like, just the way they nailed the aesthetics of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I mean, just there's one part where they're in, like, the dining room, and it just looks, and you mentioned the stretching room, and then the long hallway. Like, I mean,
And the
they
paintings,
just really
like,
nailed, the paintings.
Yeah.
They just nailed the look, man. Like, I don't know. I'm excited to see this now. I wasn't, you know, I thought Disney would do a good job with this, but I mean, they tried this once and it didn't work out very well.
I'm still not going to see it in the theaters because I don't go see movies in the theater. Sorry, you better bring it to Disney Plus quick.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, this is a stacked cast, like you mentioned. You know, Jamie Lee Curtis is Madame Leota. I mean, Owen Wilson, Rosario Dawson, Winona Ryder, Danny DeVito, Dan Levy, Tiffany Haddish. I mean, it's Jared Leto's the Hatbox Ghost. Really? Didn't realize that. Okay. So
Sure.
Yeah, that's random, but I mean, the Hatbox Ghost look good. So, you know, whatever. What were you going to say, Trevor?
Questions now, right?
Yeah, you want to do questions?
Yeah. Well, so let's just leave this at, you know, anybody else who caught anything else in that trailer, you know, shout it out in the comments. You know, I'd love to hear everyone else's take on this because I think the three of us are really excited for it. And
yeah,
I don't see how you couldn't be, but, you know, I'd love to hear other people's takes on it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would. I mean, it seemed like some people in the group were talking about it too, and seemed to be into it too. You know, it is interesting to note. You mentioned it was Ghostbusters. The person that wrote this movie was actually the one who wrote the last Ghostbusters, the female Ghostbusters. So not the two Ghostbusters ago, I guess. So the alternate universe Ghostbusters. Yes, that's right. Yeah. So, it's funny that you mentioned Ghostbusters because the person that wrote this movie also wrote the Ghostbusters movie. So, anyway, let's see here. Questions. Let's see.
All right.
So Justin says, someone gives you $1 million to listen to an attraction soundtrack for a constant 24 hours. Your choices are Journeying into Imagination with Figment or It's a Small World. Which one are you choosing?
Figment.
Yeah, that's
Small World.
You're gonna do Small World?
Absolutely.
Really?
It's very. There's a lot more layers to it.
Okay.
Right. So if I got to listen to it constantly, like it's kind of like, do I want to listen to somebody repeating the same thing constantly, or a whole bunch of like choruses and layers and different levels? Like the first, time I'm listening to this, the second time, I don't know. I just think it's a little bit more complex. And if you're making me listen to something for 24 hours, I want there to be nuances to kind of help me get through it.
Okay. Well, let's. Oh, sorry.
I feel you could say the same thing about Figment because there is nuance to it as well, and also they're written by the same people.
Yeah,
that's true.
So they're both Sherman Brothers songs, which they do follow a very similar progression, and I don't think you would lose on either one, honestly.
Let me change the question a little bit. Okay, so instead of just the soundtrack, what if you had to ride one of these rides for 24 hours straight? Which one would you choose? Right? I think that's a tougher question, right?
That actually changes my answer because I would rather be on the boat ride than an Omnimover.
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would get tired of the air blowing in my face on Figment and the smell of the skunk and like all that. Yeah.
I still go back to the soundtrack though and say to myself, like, Figment's got the voice is just weird. It just feels like it would be more grating on me after, hour 23.
After hour 23. So when would you snap?
I know. I definitely could do that. You're talking about $1 million. First of all, let's talk about how much you'd actually have to pay me to do this. I mean, I could do it for $10,000. Like, I don't have to have $1 million. $10,000, I'm in. Sign me up.
Do it for that. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't downplay the $1 million if you just gave me $1 million. I wouldn't turn around and be like, well, I'll do it for 10. Like, no.
No, but if you're asking me what the minimum I would do it for is, dude, I would do it for $10,000.
Yeah. I mean, for 24 hours of work, yeah, why not?
Yeah. I mean, I think the hardest part for me would be staying up for 24 hours. It's not going to be listening to the music.
You know what the hardest part for me is I always feel very uncomfortable in the small world boat. I don't know why. I feel like I'm just not comfortable in that boat. I think I'd be more comfortable sitting in the ride vehicle for Figment. Just like it's a little more wide spread out, there's a little more room in there to kind of, and if I wanted to take a little nap on there, I probably could.
if you had the boat to yourself though, and you could, because it's really like if you're sitting up, it's uncomfortable. But I feel like if you could lounge across the whole boat, it wouldn't be quite so bad.
No, I agree with you. But, that's true. That's a good point. If you could if you could stretch out across it, yeah, that would be fine. I also would say too, Small World, like if you were riding on it for 24 hours, like there's a lot more detail in Small World. I feel like, you know what I mean? There's so you could at least be interested by looking for, small details. Whereas like Figment, I'm not going to say it's not detail, but it's like a lot more of it is just darkness, So I feel like there's not as much to see in Figment. So yeah.
Yeah, and Figment's also very it points you in a particular direction. You don't really get an opportunity to look around as much, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, that's a good question, Justin. I like it. Do you want to do Francisco's? I actually don't know what Francisco means by this, but
okay, let's see if we can decipher this. At what point in the life of a resale contract do you think it will not be worth the investment to purchase? Second part, at what point in the life of a resale contract do you expect for pricing to dramatically drop? Okay, so the thinking here is, anyone that has a contract, as these contracts are, running, or they have an expiry date.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it 5 years out from expiry? Is it 10 years out that the value of it could potentially drop substantially? And
that's a hard question. Because I don't think anybody knows that answer, right? But like, if you look at some of the highest, like the most in demand resorts, those are some of the ones that expire the earliest. Look at Beach Club and Boardwalk that both expire in 2042. Those, and that's 19 years from now. Had to look at the date and remember what year it was. But
so definitely not 20 years, but I guess let's say, okay, so if we're talking 5 years out, then, if you're trying to sell a contract, it's, hey, this has 5 years worth of points on it. I definitely don't think you're getting full price for it at that point. I feel it will be discounted, but I don't know.
Because even if you look at just recently, right, and this is from our friends at DVC Resale Market, right? So Beach Club and Boardwalk right now are currently going for $156 for Beach Club, $131 per point for Boardwalk. That's more than Boulder Ridge, more than Old Key. It's actually not that much compared to Bay Lake. Bay Lake's more expensive. Animal Kingdom is around the same. For at least that's around the same as Boardwalk anyway. It's $130. But Beach Club I think is the interesting one as being as expensive as it is, considering it only has 19 years left on it. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like the breaking point is 5 years, but that's just for me. That to me seems like, if you came to me and were like, hey, I got this thing, it gets you, hotel for the next 5 years, I'm interested, but I'm also kind of going, how much am I going to do in the next 5 years? Right. Because it is very finite at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I think the answer is we don't really know, right? Because obviously it's dictated by what people want to buy. Right. But personally, I'd rather have a contract with a lot more years on it than only 19 years. That's just, my feeling. As much as I like Boardwalk, I would not buy a Boardwalk resale contract. Unless it were super cheap. If it were super cheap, then maybe, but they're not. They're expensive. So
I don't know. My wife and I have had this conversation, and I say, 20 years is a long time.
It is.
If you think about it, buying something that has.
But I've been going for over 20 years on my contract. So.
And you've gotten more than your money's worth at this point.
Definitely got my money's worth, but this is probably, all joking aside, this is probably the main reason I wouldn't buy a resale contract. I want maximum amount of years.
Maximum value. Right?
Always. Yeah. And not even the value. Again, forget about the value because, again, that's debatable. The main reason is just time, because I know I'm guaranteed, well, not guaranteed, but I feel very comfortable in stating the fact that whatever I do, the longer it goes is going to be more expensive for rooms at Disney. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want the most amount of years. And I think that becomes the most financially, that's what I like from a finance point of it. And again, I'll give it to my kids, so it doesn't matter. That's the nice part about it, right? You can, give it to your kids. So even if I bought one now that was, X amount of years, like I'm still okay with that.
Yeah.
If the new EPCOT comes out, right? We'll talk about that later, but
we will talk about
I still will probably buy points there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just look at it. You're right, Trevor. Like 20 years is a long time, right? But at the same time, it is a long time. But why would I? I mean, Beach Club is the fourth highest cost right now on DVC resale market, right? Fourth most expensive. And I mean, Bay Lake, you're going to get more years. Animal Kingdom, you're going to get more years. I just don't know why I would pay a higher price for something less. I'm going to get less. Yeah, I feel like I'm paying a higher price for less, and I wouldn't do that.
That's totally fair. But I guess, I was looking at Francisco's question from, each resort kind of in its own bubble, not comparing them against one another. If it got to a point where one of them only had 5 years left on it, I feel you would see an immediate collapse. Like, nobody would want to touch it. Nobody would want to sell it. Yeah. That's I feel I would probably be wrong, but that's just my feeling. But, anyone listening to this and, getting freaked out about it, Disney's already also extended one of the resort, or, the oldest resort, Old Key West. They've extended the years on it. I wouldn't be surprised if they just keep doing this with all of their resorts, because why would they stop it? Right.
Well, they need to extend it at some point, right? Like they're not just going to be like, all right, contract's up, let's close this thing down.
Everyone out.
Let's tear it down. Like the day that it expires, they just, they blow up the whole resort and start over again. Of course they're going to extend it. So, but yeah, okay. That's an interesting question, Francisco. I think I got it now that, that we explained it here. So,
all right. This next one I feel is more targeted at you, Tom.
Yeah, I feel like we've answered it before, but Anthony, so the thing is, this question comes up fairly often, but I do like to answer it occasionally because, we have new listeners that come in and maybe they didn't listen 40 shows ago, like when we talked about this. So I'll read it though. So Anthony says, hello, love the show. My question is, this is the first time taking my son, 1 year, 6 months old, to Disney World. What are some of the things you guys did to get ready for the trip? Do you guys have any cool tips or tricks for the parks? I could have prepared more for this, but I mean, there's a lot of great tips. First of all, take your time, right? Like that's a big thing, right? Like your 1.5-year-old is not gonna be able to go for like the whole day, right? So you're gonna want to obviously take your time. I'm sure you're probably up early in the morning. So, maybe go up early in the morning, go to lunch or whatever, and then go back and hang out at the hotel. I would try to, and I don't know where you're staying. You didn't say this, but I would try to, hang out at your hotel a little bit more. I mean, obviously character greetings are great for the kids as long as they don't get scared by them. I don't know if your 1.5-year-old will get scared or not. My daughter didn't when she was younger, but, that was a big concern. But, another thing too, I don't know what time of year you're going. Total lifesaver for us was the stroller fan, the battery operated stroller fan. That was you're laughing, Trevor. That was like the biggest thing.
I know what you mean.
That caused way less crankiness. She was much happier with that. I felt like we spent a lot of time too with like Animal Kingdom, because doing like more of the zoo kind of stuff in Animal Kingdom. You know what I mean? Like really taking that stuff in. I will say too, find out where all of the childcare centers are at each one of the parks, because those are great and are super helpful. So there's the one in Magic Kingdom is right by Tony's, not by Tony's. I'm sorry, right by Casey's. Yeah, it's the wrong name. It's right over by Casey's, right over by those bathrooms that are over there.
Opposite ends of Main Street. So ignore Tom's first comment because that would be very wrong.
No, Casey's. Sorry.
Yeah, Casey's. In between Casey's and Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
where it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the one at Epcot, I believe, is over by the Odyssey. I think. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look these up, but look them up because they are great to take your kid to. If you need to, I don't know. Are you still in diapers at 1.5? I think so, probably, right? I don't.
Yeah, I mean, change kids, even just get out of the sun. It's a place to get a break if you need it without having to like leave the park.
Yeah, and that's a great thing too. And they also like sell stuff like that you might need, like if you run out of like diapers or anything like that. They're really really great. So, I mean, it's tough. We also would try to, especially like try to get my daughter to nap in the stroller, which can be tough sometimes. But we would try to find like a quiet spot in the park somewhere. Depending, sometimes that was like a shop in a corner or something like that. But now I'm trying to find the baby care centers for you. I pulled up the map and everything. So I'm right. It's okay. So it's by the Odyssey at Epcot, and then Animal Kingdom. It's by, what is this? It's kind of by.
Is it on Discovery Island?
Yeah, it's on Discovery Island. It's over by Creature Comforts. So yeah, right by, not far from Pizza Safari. There you go. So, and then at Hollywood Studios, I think it's right in the front at Hollywood Studios, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's right by guest relations, right in the front of the park. So
yeah, the like entrance courtyard before you get onto the street. Yeah, yeah,
like right when you walk through the gates on the left, there's that like little almost like cabin looking thing that's like guest relations. It's right there.
Yeah.
So. So no, listen, go and check those out because those are great. They are really helpful. I mean, like I said, I would just try to take it as easy as you can. I mean, definitely do character meals if you can. I think character meals are awesome. I mean, I don't know if you'll feel like it's worth it for, again, it depends on how your kid is with characters, right? So if your kid's going to really like characters, then like, I think I'll be doing character meals for quite a long time because it was my daughter's favorite part of our last trip. And I mean, she's, about to be 5, so it's a little different. But even when she was, a baby and we took her, she absolutely love the character meal. So I would definitely recommend that. I'm sure there's more tips. What I would say is, I know every time this question comes up, a lot of people will write stuff in the group about it. So, Anthony, if you're not in our Facebook group, go join the Facebook group because I'm sure there some people in the group will also add their tips. But I think that's what I have for now. I can't
pictures.
Really think of
any. Yeah, pictures, I think for me it's always pictures. You can never go back. Right. That's always the biggest thing. You can never take as many pictures as you really want. You take them with your camera. But if you can do PhotoPass ones, I think that's the big deal because honestly, at that age, they're not going to remember it. It's not really about them. It's about you at that point. Yeah. So the pictures, I think, are something that are well worth it. I mean, if you can
get the whole family in the PhotoPass instead of one person always being out, who usually is the best person with the camera.
Exactly. So that's what I would say. I mean, it's been a while for me, but I think that was it. We also, again, snacks and all that. Snacks are a big deal. So
gotta have the snacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget that you're allowed to bring any food you want into Disney. So
yeah, and you definitely need to do that, especially at that age. So
yeah, you got to have snacks,
water, snacks. Yeah.
I will say though, be careful what you leave in your stroller too, because the birds and the squirrels. Man, the squirrels are crafty at Disney.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to a cast member and they told me that they saw a squirrel straight up unscrew the top of a bottle to get into it. Like,
oh yeah,
they have figured out how to unscrew things. So yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing. I also too, and this is me being paranoid. We brought our own stroller, and Anthony, I don't know if you're going to rent one or not, but like we were going to rent our own stroller this last time. I decided against it. We were going back and forth on it, right? But we like the idea of having the stroller for the in between spots, especially since we were at Animal Kingdom Lodge, which is large, right? Like it's those hallways can be long. At the end of the day, my daughter's tired; she doesn't want to walk, and I don't really want to carry her, so stroller, right? And the great thing about the rentals is you don't have to worry about hauling it around, but the bad thing about the rentals is they stop at the entrance of the park, right? So anyway. I got a little tracker to put, and this was, before like AirTags existed, but, I had a tile tracker that I put on mine that I hid and I like zip tied to it. I mean, you could probably do the same thing with an AirTag. I don't think anybody it's fairly rare for people to have their strollers stolen, but it's a thing that can happen. I also want to mention to you too, and this is something that still gets me all the time, and I don't know if either one of you guys remember this, but when you park your stroller in one of the stroller parking spots, you might come back to the place that you put it and it's not there anymore.
Yeah, because cast members will move them around to optimize space. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny though, because if you've never had to go to Disney with a stroller before, these are things that you've never considered, right? Like, because it's just you haven't had to do it, right? It's you just have never had to think about it. So then once you actually do go with a stroller, it's all these things. And I never knew that they moved them until I had a stroller there, and I went back to find it, and I'm like, oh god, my stroller's gone. And then I was like, oh no, wait, it's over there. they moved it. Okay. So, but these are the kinds of things that we think about. So, but yeah, in the group, hopefully people can add more things. I know we have a lot of people in the group with young kids. So
yeah, hopefully that helps you out, Anthony.
Yeah, I hope so. Good luck. Have fun. Just have a good time with it too. Just don't get hung up on that's the other thing too. Like, in past trips before kids, it was like, oh, we got to do this thing. We got to do this thing. We got to hit all this stuff. Like, there's no plan that you're going to make with a 1.5-year-old that's where everything's going to go as well as you want it to. So
the perfect trip to Disney is the one where you just go to Disney.
Yep. Yeah.
Meaning don't get hung up on details and you have to do this and you have to do that. Just enjoy the fact that you're at Disney.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree.
Yeah.
So here's a quick one from Bill. You want to do Bill's?
Yeah. So Bill says, which do you guys think is better, theme park view from Bay Lake Tower or Grand Floridian? Seems obvious, but there could be items I'm not considering. So
Trevor would like to add a third option.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's kind of the same as the Grand Floridian, that across the water view. And I feel the intent here is, looking from a tower over to Magic Kingdom versus looking from one of the buildings at the Grand Floridian. It's different angles of view, right? Like the Bay Lake Tower is higher up, and so you can kind of see more of the Magic Kingdom. I personally like, being that I stay at the Poly, which is similar view to the Grand Floridian. I actually like the viewing it across the water better than, being up in a tower looking down over everything. I feel the tower view is great and all, but I feel there's something better about, having like the proper sight lines. And then also like when fireworks and stuff are going off, they're not like to me, it's about angles, right? So I would actually take the Grand Floridian over Bay Lake Tower.
I would take Bay Lake Tower over Grand Floridian. I just, maybe it's because I feel like from Grand Floridian, you can see like some of it, but not all of it. And from Bay Lake, you can really see all of it. You know what I mean? Like you can see not the whole park, but you can really like see details and not just like the top of the spire of the castle. You know what I mean?
I mean, I can see Tron and Space Mountain.
That's true.
Big Thunder,
but the tops.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I can go into the park to see the whole thing. I don't need
that's a fair point. That's a fair point. It's a fair point. I just think if you're going for theme park view and that's what you want to do, for me, I would want to go to the closest resort to the theme park, which is Bay Lake. But that's, that's just my feeling. I mean, I've stayed at Bay Lake. I own at Bay Lake. I actually did not do a theme park view though when we stayed there. I think we did a lake view because the theme park views are absurdly expensive. Point wise, I mean. So, and for me, like the view's not that important. We're not in the room that often. If we are now though, I mean, we are now with my daughter, and so like the view was important this past time because like, to have the Savannah view at Animal Kingdom is important to me because we can go and look at the animals and, be terrified by a giraffe charging straight towards our room or it's the scariest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, it's, I would just pick Bay Lake for this. I pick Bay Lake. What were we going to say, Trevor?
Yeah,
sorry.
I was just going to say, I appreciate, whether it's from Grand Floridian or, the beach on the Poly, the watching the fireworks or even like, we pay for a Lakeview room at the Poly, which means, we can just stand out on our balcony if we're back at our, there's some nights that we do come back to the room early and, we just get to see the fireworks from Magic Kingdom from our room.
Yeah.
I personally like that. I don't need to be right on top of it. I actually like that idea of, just being far enough away that, you can enjoy it, but it's not in my face, right? Like because
I get that.
I guess that's the other thing about Bay Lake Tower is that when the fireworks are going off, the fireworks are going off. Whereas, I can close the door at the Poly and watch TV and not be too bothered by it.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. All right. So
All right.
That's all for our questions this week. We do have some DVC news that we're going to cover before we do our ad here. Really minor DVC news, but basically a free luggage set's being offered to the first 750 DVC members to add 50 points on. It's a nice looking luggage set.
Oh, I was going to say that luggage is, kind of giving it a little much.
That's a fair point, Damon. I don't know if I would necessarily call it luggage, right? It's a duffel bag and like an overnight bag and a carry-on, right?
The carry-on might be the closest thing to luggage.
Yeah. But I like the look of it, though.
I mean, I like it better than a bag that they've been giving out for feels like 8 million years.
Yeah. I'm all for anything free, so
Me too, and the fact that it's a little different, I think this would probably be more beneficial than the bag. I mean, it depends if it's your first contract or not, but I don't know.
Well, the thing is that it's adding on, so that this is not targeting new people.
Yeah.
And
I guess the other thing is, though, the problem with this is that so if you're going to start using luggage and everybody's got the same luggage at the sort of resort you're staying at, makes it a little bit more difficult.
Well, it is only 750 members, so it's not a lot.
and it's only being offered on Riviera, Grand Floridian, and Alani. So
I mean, how mad is somebody if they're the 751st member?
First, you wouldn't know though, right? Like. You would never know.
You would know because you'd
you wouldn't be getting. But what he's saying is that you don't know if you're the 751 or 9,000.
Exactly. You're the 5,000th one. Yeah.
The problem with something like this is that if you're only, I didn't read the full thing. I didn't realize it was only the first 750 members. You're going to make a lot of people mad. Like I'm adding on points. I understand the 50 add-on points is way past the amount that this luggage is worth, but I just feel like limiting it is, tough. I get from a marketing standpoint, right? They're trying to make it seem like, hey, if you don't add on now, you could be, 751.
Yeah.
I often wonder though, because really, if somebody comes in 775, they're not getting luggage. Would you rather sell those 50 points or?
Well, because they ordered luggage? More than 750 sets, right? Like they didn't just order 7, unless they didn't order any, and it's just like they're going to order these on demand or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, it seems like that number seems just low. 750 just seems low, but I guess they're trying to build up that need of wanting it quickly. I don't know. Just seems weird to me.
It feels like this is just a means for them to push clearing out these resorts because Riviera and Grand Floridian, knowing that the villas at Disneyland are coming and the new Poly Tower, I feel like they're trying, they're giving these incentives as a means of, hey, let's, get people to buy up the points because they don't want to be in a position where they've got like 6 different resorts that they're offering, because that doesn't, like, as much as we like the idea of that doesn't look good to them because, anybody just walking in off the street looking at Disney, they go, well, why, you're selling me 6 different resorts. Does that mean nobody wants these? Like you kind of make that association, right? So I can see why they do promos like these and why, 750, you're right, it is low, but it feels like something where they kind of looked at it and went, well, what's our budget and what can we do to help move some points? And this was probably what somebody came up with is, hey, an embroidered set of luggage and, we can probably sell, a couple thousand points with that.
I'll tell you this, besides the luggage, I saw somebody posted in our group the new DVC Magic Band sliders. I need one. I need several. I don't know how to get them.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, those are nice looking sliders, man.
I thought they were just handing them out at the resorts now. That's what I heard.
Are they?
Yeah. But
okay.
The question is, how do people that aren't at the resorts, are they going to be there when I'm there in June?
I feel like
that's the question.
Well, I feel like if I call, I don't have a guide anymore. My guide got promoted, so I don't have a guide right now. Like my guide's gone.
Well, I have a guide because he talked to me this week.
Well, that was another thing I was going to say. Trevor, do you want to talk about the phone call you got from DVC?
Yeah, sure. So my guide, who I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, actually pre-COVID, which It sounded like he left Disney for a little bit and came back. I don't know the full details of that. Didn't ask, but he came back, and so he reached out to me because before he left, he knew that that we were interested in points at the Grand Californian. And so he had that in his notes. And, with the new Disneyland tower coming, which I was told are the villas at Disneyland, he asked if I was interested. And of course I said, yes, so he just updated all my contact information, and he didn't have any information on it, but he said that he'll be, once he does have information, he'll be sending some stuff to me via email. So the interesting thing, to your point, Tom, is if you don't have a guide right now at DVC, that it's probably a good idea to contact them and get something set up. Just, again, not because you're in the market to buy DVC points, but it's good to have that relationship, and it's good to have, somebody you can kind of call in, with questions like these, like, hey, how do I get this thing? Right. And they can, they can tell you what they can tell you. They won't, this isn't like insider information, I guess is the first thing, but having somebody who will reach out to you is definitely a benefit.
Well, I mean, and my guide was a personal friend, right? And they got promoted, and they're now, like, I think, over some of the guides, right? So I'm sure if I reached out to them, they could, hook me up with some sliders and tell me who my guide is now. But I don't know who my guide is anymore. It's weird. So I guess I need to do that. But I mean, not that I'm going to buy direct again anyway. But yeah, I don't know. So I think this is an interesting promotion that they're doing. That's all. Do we want to go ahead and do our ad, or do we want to say anything else about this promotion?
No, I don't care about luggage. I've got lots of luggage. So yeah I'm good to move on.
I agree with you. Okay. Okay. All right, so the sponsor of this episode is DVC Rental Store. The DVC Rental Store, a World of DVC company, offers magical vacations at incredible value. Save up to 60% off retail rates at premium Disney resorts. DVC Rental Store now includes deposits as low as 25% at the time of booking and a built-in cancellation policy for every reservation. And as always, DVC Rental Store pays out the most to members looking to rent their points. Want to learn more? Go to dvcrentalstore.com or call 1-855-DVC-RENT. That's 1-855-382-7368. And when you do, be sure to let them know that Welcome Home sent you. Or you can choose in the drop-down on the website. Choose Welcome Home in the drop-down. So please let them know that we sent you to them. Very important. So please check them out if you're looking to rent DVC. We've seen a couple people recently that have been mentioned that they were looking to rent before they buy. So yeah, check out DVC Rental Store. So I think our next thing, we're gonna do our random ride segment, right? And we're gonna spin our wheel. We're gonna.
Oh gosh, sure,
do it.
Why don't you like sound of? Why don't you like the wheel, David?
It reminds me of all the money I lost at the Jersey Shore.
All right, so what's our random ride for the week?
Our ride this week is Journey into Imagination with Figment.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really exciting. So just, I guess some background. This ride has been at EPCOT. Was this an opening day ride? This was now I'm trying to remember if this was there the entire time. Open in 83.
So first of all, for anyone that keeps track of Imagineers, this one was created by Tony Baxter and Steve Kirk. So Tony Baxter is responsible for many rides at
Splash Mountain,
Disney. Yeah.
Big Thunder,
yeah,
all of Disneyland Paris. So it's good, and that's why it's still there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So the original incarnation of this ride, it's interesting. I think everybody knows Figment and the Dreamfinder, right? That's
at least knows of it. So for me, I didn't know anything about Figment until because I didn't start going to Disney World until the early 2000s. So by that point, Dreamfinder was gone.
Yeah.
But I kind of learned about him after the fact and, what the ride was before I got there.
Yeah, so it's worth noting there's been 3 different versions of this ride, right? So there was the original version, which was from 83 to 98, which most considered to be the best version of it, right? So it was like a full 12 minutes long, much longer, had the Dreamfinder in it. And it was a much bigger, longer ride. And then in 99, they decided to redo it. And when it reopened, everybody hated it so much that they redid it again within 2 years. So that's another thing that happened, right? And then the current incarnation of it has been around since 2002. And it's worth noting, it's really interesting if you like really look into this ride, that the original ride was, like I said, 12 minutes long, and the current ride is about 5 to 6 minutes long, right? So like they literally cut out half the ride. So, which is crazy to think about, right? So yeah, I mean, they actually cut out, according to, I was just reading a Theme Park Tourist who does some really nice retrospectives on these old rides. They cut out 40% of the ride's track. And that area, it looks like it actually, kind of turned into mostly into the to the ImageWorks area, right? So where the ride used to be. So really, it's really interesting with this ride, kind of what it's been through over the years. And I mean, I still enjoy this ride, right? Like, I don't know about you guys, but I still enjoy it. But the original incarnation, I think, is the gold standard, right?
Yeah, I think it's just a time thing too, though, right? But again, I never see that ride necessarily packed. This is what I would go on record to say. Is I think the character of Figment is far cooler than the ride currently.
Sure.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think that's kind of a problem that we have, right? I mean, he's literally the mascot for some of the festivals that they have, and yet this is the ride that we're kind of rolling with.
Yeah, I mean, and for those that don't know, Figment was created for the park, right? Epcot was originally not really supposed to have any like standard Disney characters in it.
Wasn't that a nice thought?
Wasn't a nice thought. That lasted for about 10 minutes. No, it actually lasted for a while. But they did bring Figment in as the mascot of the park, to your point, Damon, right? And he was supposed to be the character of Epcot. And I mean, listen, I think Figment's pretty beloved and well known. When I was a kid, I loved Figment. I had Figment
well known. I don't know about that. Beloved, yes.
Well known? Okay.
No.
You're saying only to Disney park fans, basically?
Because there's nothing out there. There's no media.
Well, wasn't there talk that they were going to do a cartoon sometime soon here? I seem to remember that, but
that doesn't mean that it's well known, though.
That's true. No, that's true. That's totally true.
Yeah.
Especially not now. I think that's always been the problem with that ride. Again, love Figment as a character. The ride is okay, but you're right. The original version way better, but then it's a timing thing. It's just, I think that there's so much they could do, and I don't think that it would necessarily take a lot. Right.
Sure.
But it would take something. And I think that the ride, what would be really cool for that ride, I feel like, is that because you're broken up into sections, I think that if you could go and just upgrade like one of the sections at a time, if that's what we're talking about, like, so it's not down so long. I don't know. It needs something though. It definitely needs something or something else in the park.
Yeah.
It seems like such a big character. And listen, I don't dislike the ride, and we always ride the ride when we go. Absolutely. But it's missing something. It's been too long.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much due for a redo, right? I mean, you're talking 2002. It's 20 years old now, right? Like the redo is 20 years old.
And if you think about it, the problem there is that, so, to your point about nobody knows about the ride or Figment, until I started going to Disney World, I wasn't aware of what it was either. That was like, I never grew up with it. I never, heard about Figment or anything, because how would I, right? There was no media behind it, to your point, Damon. The thing about the ride now is that, the ride is a quick remake because of a bad reception, which if you really think about the pacing of the ride, it totally makes sense. A lot of the effects were just reused. A lot of it was, it feels very rushed, and not just because they cut off a large section of the track, but it feels like they were given like, okay, we got to remake this ride. And somebody kind of went, okay, let's do these things, right? Like there was very quick turnarounds on, updating and improving the effects, which, it kind of works. Like, it still tells a cohesive story,
Yeah.
But to your point, yeah, this thing really is in need of an update, and it's in need of somebody to sit down and put some proper thought into it, because right now that's the biggest problem, is that the ride doesn't have good thought and good flow in its current state.
But I will say that the skunk smell is still a winner. And especially for first time kids.
Yeah.
It's fun, right? There is something to be said about that. It is fun, especially the first time through. I think that's where I think as Disney vets, sometimes we have to kind of go back, and especially in this random ride segment, I think that's a good kind of spot to go back and say, okay, well, if I'm only going to Disney once every 5 years, like a lot of people, or once as a kid and that's it, now how does this ride hold up?
Yeah.
I'm a lot different, right? Because it's fun. Like that skunk smell is fun. Like the audio part is fun. It's a good go through one time. And so again, I have to kind of, weigh both sides of that.
Well, and even, I'm not going to lie, when I go with people that have never gone before, just the end scene, I always watch people, because most people are not expecting what happens in the end, where they kind of blow the air on you, and it can be a little bit jarring when it happens, and all the walls fall down and all that stuff. That always kind of makes me laugh too. But it's interesting, because Tony Baxter did the original one, and then Tom Fitzgerald, who's also a fairly well known Imagineer as well, did the redos, right? So. Yeah, it's just they really need to redo it. I'm also thinking to myself, okay, what would happen if they took Figment out completely and they did something different with a different IP, and then brought Figment somewhere else in the park? Because they were talking about doing the meet and greet, right? They announced that they were going to do a meet and greet with Figment this year, right?
So you're talking about closing that ride down, putting up a new Figment ride.
No, I'm talking about closing that ride down and not even having a Figment ride. And I don't want that. I'm just wondering if that's
gone then.
Yeah, I'm just saying if they do, they put him in other places and they make that into a different ride. I don't want them to do that. I want to keep a Figment ride. I'm throwing it out there as a possibility.
What would you re-Figment? You know what I would re-Figment? I'd take Guardians of the Galaxy, because I could care less about that IP. And could you imagine if that was Figment? Oh,
but Guardians is a way bigger IP than Figment.
Oh, no. I'm saying for myself.
For yourself.
I don't care about that IP. And I think that, gosh, that would make such a good Figment ride. What would you replace? So you're replacing a ride with Figment.
I see. I thought you were saying what would I put into Figment's?
No. You're going to take the IP off of a ride and make it a Figment IP. What ride are you doing? And it's obviously got to be in EPCOT. So
it has to be in EPCOT?
Well, yeah, because what's the point then?
So you're limited. Ever after.
Frozen Ever After.
It's not fit in Norway, though, really. So kind of messes that up. But
that's okay. We'll give that to you.
Can you imagine Figment singing "Let It Go" on the?
I could actually.
That would be awesome. That would actually be really, really awesome if they did that.
I'm just thinking,
I could make a run for a Figment test track too, to be honest with you.
That was my thinking, was test track.
Good idea.
Just wiping that out and putting it into a chaotic
because that IP is not really. it is an IP, but it's not an IP.
It's not anything really memorable right now. But if it was Figment doing test track, that would bring it back up a level. Yeah,
because the whole thing with Figment is kind of I don't want to say chaos, right? But Figment's a little bit of a trickster in that ride, right? So
he's unhinged is what it is. He just does whatever. So
yeah, exactly. So you could, I feel you need more action in the ride for him to do the trickstery stuff, right? Because the trickster stuff they do,
it's perfect for Guardians.
You're not. I can't disagree with you on this. I just.
Again, it would never happen, but I don't love that IP, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I still haven't gotten enough of Guardians, so yeah. Ask me again in 5 years. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I do think at some point they are going to redo this ride, right? And I will say that it's like we said, it's been 20 years. It never.
How do you even redo it? So do you keep the same theme process?
No,
or you just totally just.
I think it's a total teardown, man. I think you start over.
So what are you doing? Are you something how about something like Spider-Man over on the West Coast?
You're talking doing theme? like a trackless kind of deal?
Yeah, with the the video and all that, like something like that.
That's a good question.
I mean, yeah, think about how Ratatouille plays out.
But I want more interaction, though. I think the Spider-Man ride gives more interaction, right? Like, I think interaction with Figment is the W there.
Well, what if you go more like Mickey and Minnie's kind of style?
But there's still no interaction, though, really.
There's no interaction. I'm just saying, like, as a ride, like, system.
I mean, that's chaotic. Yeah, I mean, in general.
Yeah. With the trackless ride, you can do so much more with, like, the chaos kind of stuff. Sorry,
I feel like you still have to do some sort, like, you got to, like, harken back to the OG, and there's got to be some sort of skunk smell, and there's got to be wind blowing. There's got to be all that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, I mean, Damon's right. Is it has to be interactive. Having something like Spider-Man where you can, where you can shoot something at Figment, and, he'll laugh or whatever, and you get a reaction out of him, and just means to further enhance the chaos that's already in the current ride. That's what it needs, and I think you're right. Is that currently with the Omni Mover track that it's on, you can't do that. It's still very much a predictable thing, especially like you said, after you've ridden Figment, you kind of know what it is, and it's a little bit of a rite of passage, like with the skunk smell and everything. But giving it that chaos, giving it a trackless ride system would definitely bring Figment back into being. I think it would bring back a lot of the excitement and a lot, it'd bring it closer to what the original ride was. But the one thing that I think needs to stay intact somehow is I do like how they formed this canon of the so the current one is Nigel Channing is the professor working with Figment in the Idea Lab. I like how they kind of linked in all the other like professor movies, like Wayne Selinsky's got a room in there and that kind of stuff. I like them kind of bringing that forward as like a universe for those. And I know we really haven't had any of those in a long time, but those kind of like crazy films that Disney used to do, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and stuff like that.
Which did they make another one, or they're making another one?
Oh, possibly. I haven't paid attention to any of that in a while. Like it kind of fell off for me for a bit, but I like the idea of Figment kind of living in that universe. So whatever they do, I think, this goes back to, it's not an IP, or it is an IP, but it exists outside of like the MCU and all that. Yeah. Right. Yeah, like it needs, this is how new IPs get formed. And this is how like you get new interesting rides, I feel, in the park that, not like taking an already blockbuster idea and be like, hey, we got your ride now, but like, kind of building on something like Figment. Right. So yeah, that's what I would like to see, whatever ride it turned into. So
yeah, I mean, just to be clear, I don't think they should take Figment out, right? Like, I think Figment is an important part of EPCOT, right? Like, I think he needs to have his own ride, but obviously, it's one of the worst rides that Disney has, as far as like, first of all, it's never busy, right? Like, there's always that joke, if like Figment has longer than a 15-minute wait, it's a busy day at EPCOT, right? Like, because there's never a long line there, which you don't think you feel like Disney would not want to keep it that way forever, right? Like they don't, I'm sure they don't love that, right? And I think what we're going to see right now is we have like the first phases of the EPCOT reimagining happening right now, right? And those are the big projects of redoing that whole front of the park and the middle of the park. Once that stuff is done, I could see them trying to go after finally doing something with Wonders of Life. They were going to do the Play Pavilion. That seems to be done for. And then, doing something with the Imagination Pavilion. I feel like they have to at some point. They can't just leave it there forever like this 20 years old, 20 plus years old now.
Yeah, I mean, the ride's eventually going to hit a point where it's just not going to be in operation anymore. So
yeah. And I mean, I hope it's never like a case where they just like shut it down and just leave it there, right? Like, my hope would be that they redo this ride with new technology, with all the new stuff they can do, because they're using 90s technology basically in this ride, where there's been a lot of advances made. There's a lot of cool stuff they can do. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I just hope that they do something with it, because like I said, I love Figment. Figment's one of my favorite characters. I still have my Figment Funko Pop sitting on my desk as I talk to you guys. So, yeah, let's hope that they do something with this. But if you haven't looked at the history of this and you don't know the old version of it, there are videos out there of it, with the Dreamfinder in it and that kind of thing. So
also make sure you look at the in-between version too, because you will appreciate
the current iteration.
yeah. The in-between one is weird. Like it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched it. I didn't like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting too. Cause this original ride did have some unique things to it. Like it had it was an Omnimover, but it had like a turntable in the beginning of it that turned you in a circle around a scene. And so basically there was a giant turntable and basically one of the articles I'm reading is saying that they'd never seen a ride mechanism like this before or since, but they took all that out, so that's not there anymore.
It was a combination of an Omnimover and Carousel of Progress,
kind of. Yeah,
I understand. Yeah,
which kind of.
I also saying you've never seen one like it since. There's probably a reason for that.
Well, yeah, you're probably right about that. But I that was the article that I was reading that said it.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, listen, I think, I think they need to do something with Figment, and I'm hoping in the next year or two, maybe that they announce something for that pavilion. And then, of course, this pavilion's also one of my favorite pavilions visually, right? I have talked about this before. The jumping fountains are one of my favorite things at Epcot. And those are right there in the pavilion. Just the look of them. And then also the DVC lounge. I mean, can't discount it for that. I mean, the DVC lounge gives you one of the coolest views, I think, in Epcot too. So I just, when I think of Epcot, I always imagine those glass pyramids. It's just a very iconic piece of the building itself is a very iconic piece of Epcot, I feel like.
That's one thing to be careful of. Here's where the monkey's paw wish comes in for Figment is, you wish for them to update the ride, but they may go, okay, well, no more lounge.
Don't say that.
Right?
Don't put that on the universe, Trevor.
I have to say it because if I did, it's a possibility, that they could look at it and go, well, we can't reimagine the ride in its current space. We need to redo this building, or we need the second floor, which I didn't realize this. Apparently there's more to the second floor than just where the lounge is there, because it used to be where ImageWorks was.
Yeah.
So, they may decide that they need that space back, which means, hopefully that, from a DVC lounge standpoint, they find somewhere else to put the lounge. Yeah. We don't just lose it altogether, but there is a danger there that Disney could turn around and say, yeah, we can't do this right now. And we just don't have a lounge in Epcot anymore.
Yeah. By the way, okay, we should move on to other things, but
yeah,
as I was researching this, I learned something new that I never learned before. And I was talking to you about this earlier, Trevor, about how the Land Pavilion was originally supposed to be sponsored by a logging company. And it was supposed to be about habitat, sustainability, and ecosystems. But here's the interesting thing to me. So the headlining attraction would have been a suspended dark ride aboard hot air balloons with guests whisked through the seasons following a drop of water from the highest mountain peaks to the forest and the wetlands below, with the guests able to walk through the actual living greenhouse ecosystems. The reason why I'm saying this is because this whole Moana Journey of Water thing, they're revitalizing the original idea for the Land Pavilion and just putting Moana with it. They're doing a ride about the water cycle, and that was an original planned
or an experience,
the Land Pavilion, and they're putting it right in front of the Land. I just love that. I don't know. I read that and I was like, oh, this is very cool that they're kind of revived an old idea that didn't happen of doing something about the water cycle, and they're putting it right in front of the land, and it's kind of great.
I guess that's something to keep in mind. Just because an idea isn't there right now doesn't mean that it's dead.
Well, they always say good ideas never die at Imagineering.
Yeah,
that's a thing. Yeah.
Although, and we said this before the show too. The whole premise of the land being sponsored by a logging company I can see why that didn't happen.
Why that didn't pan out. Yeah. But, you know, I just thought it was an interesting piece of Epcot history. And I love the idea that they're revitalizing, like they're bringing this idea back and are really going to do it. And by the way, if you haven't seen what the original land pavilion was supposed to look like when it was the logging company, like go Google that, because the concept art is pretty cool. So anyway, let's go to the next thing here.
Let's talk about this rumor, because this is
I got two rumors.
This is a weird one. Okay, yeah. Well, let's start with the first one, which is it says rock and roller actor claims attraction will now feature music of Queen rather than Aerosmith.
Have we seen him actually say this? I can't imagine.
He said it in a podcast. He said it in a podcast.
Yeah, that's what it says.
You've heard what it said? Like, you've listened to the podcast?
Well, here's the thing. Like, why would he doesn't even have any lines in the ride? Like, why would he even know what they're doing? Like, I don't know. And he's also a comedian.
It's not going to be a Queen ride. Listen, if it is, like, that's fine. I'll come back and say I was wrong. And I'm a Queen fan, A Kind of Magic. One of my favorite, it is my favorite Queen album. I think it's got that cartoony vibe. I love it. It's just not happening. If you're going to redo this IP, you are going to make it relevant to people that now.
Yep.
You're going to make it a Taylor Swift IP. You're going to make it a Drake IP. You're going to make it something like that. You're not going to make it Queen. And I like Queen, and Highlander is a top movie. This soundtrack is one of the top soundtracks from a movie. It's not going to happen that way.
But okay, so let me counter that by saying, I know you're saying Taylor Swift or Drake or whatever, but that does not appeal to a larger audience, where Queen is a little bit more timeless at this point.
Yeah, I don't think so, man. Like, what does that larger audience start at age-wise?
I mean, you're talking from, like my parents all the way down to my kid knows who Queen is, and my parents know who Queen is. My parents don't know who Drake is.
I mean, that's a fair point.
In the U.S., it's not that way. Like, so you're gonna take that cutoff somewhere around 45, maybe. I still just don't see it, man. I just don't see. Queen is great. Listen, great band, but it doesn't appeal to what the here and now is. They're not making new music. They're not ever gonna, like. It's just not the thing.
Well, Aerosmith wasn't like,
but they were in when they were hot. That's the whole point. Right? They were in when they were hot and big. Now, 20 years later, okay, but you're taking a group that was hot years ago, and no kid is going to be like, yo, let's go ride the Queen ride. Like, there's still, I mean, I would like it. And listen, I'm not arguing because I don't like it, because I would like Queen. I like Queen, and I like, again, if you gave me music from Queen, I'm good with that, but I don't see it, man. It would be a bad business move.
I feel like "Don't Stop Me Now" is a perfect ride for like a song for a roller coaster, like that. Think about that song. It goes so nicely.
But I don't even know that song off the top of my head. I had to think about it for a second.
Think about it, yeah. But I mean, it's fair.
But you know it when you hear it, though.
Yeah,
I know it after I thought about it. But we're not appealing to those people if we're Disney. See, like, what 10-year-old wants to hear Queen?
I don't disagree. I in my mind, if they're going to redo this thing, it's not going to be music oriented anymore, right? Like we talked about this many times. You can
make it music oriented, but I just don't see it as somebody like Queen. I see it as well, first of all, it would make even more sense if it's somebody that they're more in line with in terms of the business.
That's true. Yeah.
Why would you not go after somebody that's part of your business already to begin with?
Well, it should also be noted that they have to license Aerosmith's stuff, right? Like, and from what I saw, I think Universal Music Group has it, and it was up for. There was a lot of rumors that this was going to change because the contract apparently was up for it was expiring this year, right? Yeah. So that was part of where this started. Now, we don't know, though, too, by the way. So this was from Ken Marino, who is really funny. And he's a comedian, right? Like, and he does a lot of great, stuff. And he, he said it on a podcast, right? But like, who knows? Maybe he just read it somewhere on the internet. Like, we don't know if he has actual inside information on this, right? Like, he didn't say.
Why would he?
Yeah, why would he? Why would
if he did and he said it, it would have already been, the podcast wouldn't have been released. Trust me. When Disney they listen to everything that's Disney. They do. They would have already taken it down, man.
Yeah.
I just don't see it as a smart business move. And again, Queen fan, let me make sure that I'm there with everybody, right? I'm a Queen fan. I just don't see it as a smart business move. I would see more of what Tom's saying is that you just take the ride and retheme it to some other Marvel thing that they could use, right? That just seems what they do anyway, right?
I've said many times I think they should do a Monsters Inc. door coaster. That's what.
Well, that would be very good as well. But they do have the new series, right? So that would kind of vibe in. I just, is there going to be something new with Moana? Right? Forget about the ride, right? Is there going to be a new Moana series, a movie, something? Right? It seems like Disney likes to make sure their IPs are all in, why would I not want a hot IP?
Yeah.
But, that's what I wonder. Me, like I said, Tom, I think, if they redo it, maybe they don't do music. That's fine too. If they do music, I feel like it's going to be somebody that's got a huge catalog that they're in better, business sense with, and that appeals to a larger audience than Queen.
I get what you're saying, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. I do think Queen would be cool, right?
I think Queen would be cool too.
But to your point,
super fan.
Yeah. No, I do think Queen would be cool. I just think if they're, let's be honest. It's Hollywood Studios at this point is about. It's about movies, right? It's not about music, right? So it's weird to me that this ride is even there, right? Like it doesn't necessarily, not that there's much of a theme left at Hollywood Studios, right? It's very amorphous.
Let's just go out and say that there's no theme left anywhere at any of the parks,
sure.
excluding Animal Kingdom. But even that has Avatar, so you'll get me going on that anyway.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So but it is just it feels like the odd man out, right? Because it's not about a movie, it's not about any of those franchises. I do think something interesting, and this is really crazy speculation. I'm gonna put this out there, right? So Disney has to make a decision this year about what they're going to do with Hulu, right? So I don't know, have you guys read about this or not? But Trevor, I know you don't even have Hulu up in Canada, but
it's all rolled into Disney Plus.
Yeah. So essentially, it was originally thought that Disney. So this year they have to decide if they're going to buy out the rest of Comcast's stake in Hulu. They have to do that this year. What I read recently is that Disney's thinking about not buying the stake out and in fact selling the rest of Hulu back to Comcast. There was some speculation within that Disney would, within that same transaction, maybe trade some IP stuff around. Which would be really interesting, right? Like, because can you imagine if Disney was like, okay, we'll sell you all of Hulu, but you need to give us Marvel back. We need to take Marvel back as part of this. Like, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but like, I could see it. Wouldn't shock me. I think they want the rights back, the theme park rights back. I think they'd love to put Marvel stuff in Disney World more than they have now. A lot more, obviously, because they can really only do Guardians. So, I don't know. I just want to throw that out there because I was reading some interesting things about this Hulu transaction. So it also doesn't make sense that they have Hulu. Like, why do they even have Hulu? Like, just do what you do in Canada and put all the stuff that you have on Hulu onto Disney Plus. Like, just do that.
It's probably because because we never had Hulu in the first place. There's nothing to grandfather in for people that have Hulu. Yeah. And I think that's the bigger issue is that they don't want to, or there's people that were paying for Hulu that, and I know it's a minority at this point because most people have more than one service, but that when they say, oh, now it's part of Disney Plus, you get a bunch of backlash from people going, well, my contract says this, or, it causes a lot of static that I'm sure Disney doesn't want to deal with at the moment. So it's easier for them just keep both of the platforms running.
Yeah.
Right. So
it seems like it would save them a lot of money to combine them, though, because the overhead of operating two different services,
It's far more convenient, I'll admit, because we just have, at this point, we just have Netflix and Disney Plus, and, we can find everything we want on those platforms. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying any of that's going to happen. I have no information on this other than I've read some interesting things about Disney wanting to maybe, get out of Hulu. And, if they do that, they're going to be selling it to Comcast. And I think Comcast is interested. So I don't know, man, maybe there's some other things that could come along with that. It wouldn't be a crazy thing. So There was something specific they mentioned, and I can't find it now, but yeah. But there was something specific that they mentioned trading in there. I've not seen anywhere mention getting the Marvel theme park rights back. I'm just saying I could see it happening, or them trying to do it at least, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell, what'll happen in the future, but speaking of future world,
oh, look at you.
Let's talk about the next rumor.
Put the rumors early, by the way, just so I make sure that Damon could talk about these rumors. So
yeah, and I think this one's more interesting for all of us. Is there is a permit that Disney may be moving forward with the new EPCOT hotel, which we've talked about previously.
It's been a couple years.
yeah, it's definitely been a while. But let's talk about this.
Yeah, so this real estate agent that tracks permits, he first talked about this in 2017 about a rumored hotel to be built somewhere near the Epcot entrance. There were a bunch more permits that were filed, and then he shared a report back in 2021 that again about this. And then in a recent TikTok video, the same guy is stated that Disney has actually awarded a construction company the rights to build the hotel. So which feels like a step, like it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. You're talking about what sort of hotel that I would want. I mean, gosh, think about it. I'm not even a drinker, but I can only imagine that for the drinkers, this is even better, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
For food and wine? Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. I just want to get out, walk there, not have to get on a bus, not have to do anything and be in the park. I'm good. That is perfect.
Even closer than having to walk through the World Showcase and go all the way down the boardwalk and, yeah.
Yeah. This is a win. This would make me buy more points and they would be, I don't know how many I'd want to buy, but
assuming that this is going to be DVC, right? We don't know that they're just saying hotel. They have not said if it's DVC or not, but you can imagine DVC, a world where we might be half and half.
Yeah, because here's the thing. If it's not DVC, I'm way less enthused because I am not paying the money it's going to cost to stay there.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, because it's going to be more expensive to be right in Epcot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would consider points. I think I would go, I'd get 50 luggage points, right? I'd get the luggage and everything. Because I feel like for me, 50 points would be perfect. And I would just spend 2 days there, gorging at the festival and then be good and then split stay somewhere else.
Yeah. It really is. If you were somebody that wants to to really enjoy food and wine to its fullest, there's no better option than being able to walk back to a hotel. That's close by for sure. If that's something you want to do, I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just further just like we've been talking about, having these places connected so conveniently.
Yeah,
it's just one of those, or it's just, that next level of, like you said, hey, I could plan a split stay. You can already do that at Riviera or Boardwalk or whatever. But, imagine if you planned your trip around, you start off staying at a Magic Kingdom resort and then you split stay to Epcot and then to Hollywood Studios, having these resorts so close to the actual parks, you don't realize how valuable that is until you've, walked 10 kilometers in a park and being able to just, walk around a corner, go into your hotel and go back upstairs. Like that again. Sorry, I've done that. I've lived that. And when you can be like, oh, I forgot my jacket, and you literally just walk back upstairs to your room, grab your jacket, and you're right back into the park. That would be amazing. Having something that close to Epcot would just be awesome. And then the other thing too is with, we've been talking about how they've been redoing, this first phase of the Epcot neighborhoods and all that. The food and wine booths are all supposed to be getting centralized, or they're supposed to be making an area where instead of having them spread out around World Showcase, it's all supposed to be in just one area. Right.
Well, I think there was talk about that originally. Now they're just building that stage, right? They're building that stage area, but I think they're going to probably put some booths over there too. Yeah, I think the booths will be around the showcase. I think still.
Oh, okay. I thought the intent was they were going to collapse a lot of that in. So I guess, yeah, maybe not all of it, but still, imagine though, it's like, like what Damon was saying, that, you come down from your room, you walk in, you hit up, whatever you want to do there. And then like I could see, spending, a couple of days doing that, and then you're good. And then you can go somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I think the plan was originally to put like a whole festival center where they had like a bunch of like events and stuff that were happening there. But then the new plans were that they're just doing like the event stage and they're going to have like events there. And I think that the booths are still going to be spread out. But the interesting thing here is, and I'm just looking at a map, right? Because thinking to myself, okay, is this a monorail resort? Right? Like, are we going to have the first, non-Magic Kingdom monorail resort now too? Right? Because based on where they're putting it, they're talking about between the seas and the land pavilion. And if you look at the map, that backstage area, not all that far from the monorail station, depending on how big the resort is, you could probably make a connection to the monorail station really easily.
Yeah.
Even if you don't, though, it's walkable, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel they wouldn't they wouldn't build, or they wouldn't redo the monorail station for EPCOT. But yeah, I feel like exactly what you're saying. There would probably be a bridge, or some
sort of walkway
access.
Yeah,
you could just walk right up to the monorail platform.
Yeah, I just love the idea of an EPCOT monorail resort, right? Like that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I also do question though. Like, I think to myself, like, okay, well, what are they going to theme this as? Like, what fits into that area?
Future World.
I mean, it's not Future World anymore. Let's see. It's World Celebration, World Discovery, World Nature. So technically, I think that area is World Nature. Yeah.
Yeah, but they can still call it Future World Hotel.
I mean, they could. No, you're not wrong. Yeah. Like, they could do like a throwback. Like,
yeah.
I guess the question is, what do you want to see out of a design? Like, what's the theme of this hotel? Like, what do they theme it to? Like old EPCOT? Like,
no, actually, I think they theme it to current EPCOT. I think it becomes an extension of, what EPCOT is supposed to be, which is, a prototype community of tomorrow, future world, effectively. I think it's, I imagine it as, kind of like what the Contemporary was when it first opened.
Okay.
Because the Contemporary was, it was a very impressive, like, new hotel, right? Like it seemed very futuristic back in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
I know we look at it now and kind of go, all right. But I feel like it would be something like that. Like, they would be using it as a place to showcase, like, hey, here's a, here's the future of hotel stays. Like, kind of bringing that conceptual of world of tomorrow, which is EPCOT. But the tricky part is, they don't want to get gimmicky with it. Like, I don't think it would be like so much of a gimmick thing, whereas it would just be like a very modern, very, modern upscale hotel. Like, I can't see them doing anything overly themed with it, because EPCOT is not overly themed. It's meant to just present like futuristic. I don't know if I'm describing that well enough.
No, you are. I'm just, I'm thinking to myself, okay, like, knowing that Disney never throws away a good idea, right? So that's like literally a tenet of Imagineering. I'm just looking back at the original plans for EPCOT, right? And in the center of the original plans for EPCOT is this big tower. And I don't know if it was, I don't remember, and I'd have to look further to see if that was supposed to be like an office building or a hotel or something like that. But, I guess at the time it looked pretty futuristic. Probably not so much now, but I would assume it would be some sort of futuristic looking tower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's got to blend in with whatever the aesthetic of EPCOT, and
which is a lot of the pavilion. Yeah, if you look at the pavilions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go. Keep going.
Yeah, look at the pavilions. Look at the Imagination Pavilion. Look at Living with the Land, right?
Yeah.
Or the land, and those pavilions are, very, very geometric shapes, like clean looking buildings, right? Like the even though they were made a long time ago, they still have a very futuristic aesthetic to them, right?
Yeah.
So I feel you're right. It would be an extension of that, but the problem is that having a tower I know what you're talking about, because they have the model of the EPCOT city, like when you're on the People Mover, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
What you that's what you think.
Yep.
Yeah, that so thinking of that, it was like a spoken hub type system, right? Where you had the tower in the middle, and then all like the communities out to the side. EPCOT's not structured like that right now, though, so I think it would look weird if it was like you had this big tower, but and also I feel whatever they do, they got to be careful not to overshadow Spaceship Earth as well.
Well, that's the tough thing too. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, because that's the centerpiece of EPCOT at this point.
Yeah, no, you're right, and like that's a tough thing too, right? Like it can't be. You would almost think maybe they don't do a tower, right? They do something that's maybe like 2 or 3 floors, and they spread it out, because there's a fair amount of room. Like just looking at the map here, there's a good amount of room behind the seas and the land, right? Like, I mean, before you get to parking lot, it's a pretty big space. So, I mean, they could build a pretty nice size hotel that only has, 2 floors, 3 floors, whatever. There's also too, we should mention, like, what if they did some of the ideas from Westcott, the long lost Westcott?
Okay. All right.
Which was originally, supposed to be West Coast EPCOT. And that was, I want to say, wasn't that Tony Baxter? I think that designed that one too. Oh gosh, I don't remember. I should know this, but yeah, like, Westcott had some interesting ideas for hotels too. Although theirs were more themed around staying at hotels that were within the World Showcase, right? So like there was supposed to be like you could stay at different hotels that were themed to the pavilion that you were in, right? Like that was the idea behind that. So I mean, I guess that doesn't really work because this is going to be like right in the front of the park. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with this if this actually turns out to be true. I don't know if it really will. I mean, it seems like a pretty good step in the right direction. The fact that they've selected a construction company, which is the construction company they use for like everything anyway. But yeah, man, I don't know. To your point, I don't know how they make sure that it doesn't overshadow Spaceship Earth, right? You can't have it overshadow Spaceship Earth.
I mean, the thinking is like you already have. You have Guardians on the other side, which, they painted in such a way that they're trying to hide it. But then, yeah, if you think about it, if they did another equally as big building on the other side, you would kind of have like these 2 bookends with Spaceship Earth in the middle. But then the problem with the hotel is that if you're selling a hotel, it has to have windows and views, right? And I know that, some people would love, having a view over Spaceship Earth, like looking down towards any of the pavilions on that side.
Yeah.
That whole area would be fantastic. But then what about the other side? Like you'll have a whole bunch of, you'd have a large building with a bunch of it looking at the parking lot to EPCOT, which wouldn't be great. So then, yeah, that further leads to, there would still be that. Like, I don't think you could ever get away from that, but I feel like they would have, that whole area, they would have to build, there'd have to be a courtyard, or there'd have to be something on the backside that is appealing, because then otherwise, again, you're just looking out towards, the road otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Like if you build this big building, unless you're paying for the theme park view, you're looking at, the road, people going back and forth from EPCOT or towards Magic Kingdom, or you're looking at the parking lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's, so yeah, whatever they do with this, hopefully it doesn't turn into it. I like your idea of, keeping it lower and spreading it out a little bit more, but I feel they're also going to look at it as, they want to try and get as many rooms in there as possible, which may mean you still end up with a larger building that, hopefully it doesn't totally kill the sideline of, coming up to Epcot. Right. So.
Yeah. I mean, but, even if you think about it too, right. So it's like, it's off to the side. It's almost like the show building for Guardians is massive, right? Like where you see it coming in, and I think it's taller than Spaceship Earth, is it not? I believe it is.
It is.
Yeah. So, and I don't feel like that building necessarily takes away with it. It takes away from Spaceship Earth. And looking at where they would put this building, I think it's far enough away from Spaceship Earth that you could put something there where it's not really going to take away from it, But all I'm imagining to myself, Trevor, is watching the lights on Spaceship Earth, like from my room.
Yeah.
I would do that for an hour at least. Hours. I would just sit there and watch that. So, I mean, listen, I expect whatever this is going to be, there's going to be like I expect it to look, futuristic and something like that. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. So,
yeah. So I'm just imagining like, the lights at night, and you have that initial like, oh yeah, this is great, and then when you're trying to go to sleep, and you just got the lights going off,
there's that. It's a fair criticism. You just gotta draw the curtains. That's all.
I'm sure they shut them off when the park closes.
Yeah, they don't leave those on all night. Yeah, I would hope so, but they probably stay on till pretty late. I would probably think. Yeah.
I mean, actually, it's funny because like the lights at Magic Kingdom, like I've seen them after the park closes, and the castle's still lit up. Like they like
it's lit up for a while.
Yeah, but it's not. So I guess it's different than the Spaceship Earth lights are one thing versus just like ambient lighting for the park.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
Yeah.
So we should probably get moving on to other things here because
we got a couple more topics here.
We're getting late in time here. So really quickly, I just wanted to put the topiaries in here for the Flower and Garden Festival because I think these Encanto topiaries look amazing. Really amazing. Like some of the best they've done. Honestly, they look fantastic. And I mean, also, Encanto lends itself to that a little bit too, just because of the one daughter has the flowering thing, so like has her powers. Yeah. So like that's cool, but like the way they did the one kid looks really cool. I mean, and they all look really good. I never cease to be amazed at the topiaries that they come up with. It just is incredible to me. I don't know how it's done, and although there's a video here that kind of shows you the behind the scenes, but. Just awesome. And the merchandise too. Sorry, go ahead.
It's a lot of planning, right? Like that's the thing I don't think people realize about topiaries is it's not like you just like, everyone thinks like the cartoony, like, there's a bush and you just, take a chainsaw to it and suddenly you've got a topiary. No, these are very like it's a lot of planning to build these. So.
Yeah, in this article they say it takes about a year. Their artists do sketches, then Imagineers do 3D models, and then they have welders mold frames, and then the horticulture specialists choose the plants and plant them. So, like, it's just for these topiaries that are up for a few months. The amount of people involved in them is kind of incredible. So, and then of course, Flower and Garden very heavily featuring the orange bird. So very, very heavily featured in there's some really cool stuff. I have to say I'm not a huge orange bird fan, but I know a lot of people are. But it's it's kind of like a 70s kind of style collection, which is cool.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised by they also showed off the Snow White stuff as well, which that kind of surprised me that like the purse and the ears is the pictures I'm looking at here.
Yeah.
That like I know my wife would go for these.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I didn't realize how much like Snow White's been a hallmark for a long time, but there's really not a lot of merchandise for her, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's kind of cool that they're going different directions with it. And then the the Crocs as well. No socks featured in the picture, unfortunately.
Well,
Sorry, Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy's going to buy those Crocs. So.
Yeah. And they've got, Orange Bird, Figment, and Snow White on, which you wouldn't think that combination works, but it kind of does.
Kind of does. Kind of works. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to food really quick because I want to roll through this. We're like really.
Oh boy. There's 4 lists.
I know.
Oh, no.
Well, so Typhoon Lagoon reopening March 19th. I think that's all we need to say about that. So
get your swimming on, people.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then, so really quickly here, we've got Disney Eats California Adventure Food and Wine. All right. California Adventure. There's some good looking stuff in here, man. I feel like I could talk about this. I almost want to like save this stuff for next week because I could talk about the food that's on here for like a while.
Why don't we just go with, is there any, okay, because we got 4 lists here and we're really late in this. So
there's a lot of food, man, that they put out there.
Oh my goodness, this list is really long.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I feel like we need to save it for next week. Like, well, maybe just wrap up and we'll talk about food next week.
Yeah, maybe that's a better idea because, that's, what do we got here?
There's literally 4 food guides that they came out with recently.
Well, I'm gonna be wrong with this, but I feel like we could talk about the Toontown treats at Disneyland because there can't be that many, can there? Oh no, there's not. It's
probably just a couple. Yeah.
So let's go through that one and then we can save the rest of them for next week. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what this hot dog is, but it looks delicious. Let's see. The Daisy's dressed up dog features all beef long hot dog, foot-long hot dog, chili cheese sauce, mac and cheese, Parmesan potato crispies with house-made chips.
So before we get too far into that, can we talk about? So there's 2 locations opening up in Toontown, which I didn't realize that they were doing this, but there's Cafe Daisy. I actually thought it was Cafe Disney at first, but it's Cafe Daisy and Good Boy Grocers, which I like that's Pluto getting his own
you gotta love
place,
that.
which I think is awesome.
Good for Pluto.
So Daisy's got Daisy sells hot dogs apparently at a cafe.
That dog sounds good. I don't like chili, but like the rest of that, I mean, the mac and cheese, I like mac and cheese on a hot dog, and Parmesan potato crispy sounds kind of good.
Let's talk about these cheesy pizza flopovers which
also looks delicious though.
It's almost like a calzone,
but not closed off. Yeah. It's basically they took a pizza and they folded it in half. That's what it is. Yeah.
Which honestly is a really smart idea if you think about it at the end of the day. I never really thought about it because you can hold it like a taco, right? Yeah. Instead of, usually like pizza, you're kind of, well, if you don't know how to hold a pizza right, it's always a mess. And, this is actually a very smart idea. And, that the fact that they're giving something, it's very specific to this location. I have to wonder if they'll start doing this other places, but I like the idea of, especially in a theme park, you buy something like this and you can eat it reasonably without making a huge mess.
I agree with you because I almost said it's like a handheld version of a pizza. I mean, a pizza's handheld, right? But this is like, it's easier to, I feel like, to eat, because it's like, it looks really good. I mean, the pictures make it look amazing because it looks like they have a pepperoni version and a cheese version, and they, like we said, it looks like they just flipped it over. But then on the outside of it, it looks like there's like some sort of crispy cheese situation going on,
like a Parmesan crust of
yeah, it looks good, man. I would totally eat this. This looks
just get a frozen pizza and flip it over in the oven. I'm sure it'll work out exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, you could put a pizza in a sandwich press. That's
I've never tried that before.
That's dangerous.
Yeah. There's a plant-based offering here too called the Spring Garden Wrap, which is romaine, quinoa, and creamy lemon dressing and toasted pumpkin seeds. Not something I would necessarily get, but it looks good.
See, I would try that. I'm not like I like plant-based is great and all. I like that they offer that stuff. I don't really care so much that it's plant-based. It's just it sounds interesting to me, and I would give it a go.
Yeah, and I mean the other options here for kids are the standard Disney pizza fare, right? Like these little personal pizzas that are not always the greatest. They do have the mini corn dogs, which, listen, if I ever stop at Casey's, I get mini corn dogs and dip them in the nasty nacho cheese. And there's nothing better than that right there. I don't care if anybody criticizes me for that. I really don't care. They're delicious. So
yeah, no, I mean, corn dogs are corn dogs too. Like, you never pass up a good corn dog. I do like the fact that, on one of these mini pizzas, the pepperoni one, they did a larger piece of pepperoni, 2 small ones to do the Mickey ears. Yeah. Mickey ears, which again, very simple, but it's like, why are you not doing that? All the time, everywhere. Yeah. Right. Like
they do in the Asian parks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everything in Shanghai or Hong Kong or Tokyo, everything is Mickey shaped. Everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, go for it, guys. Come on. You can buy some large pepperoni and just slice it up right.
And then they also have some what they're calling Toontown tater chips, which are house-made chips with a chili cheese sauce that you can add to your meal. Okay. Sure.
And the Daisy's Goody Goody donuts, which these just look like mini donuts with cinnamon sugar, which this is very, to me, it's very, so I've talked about before, we have the Calgary Stampede, which is like a fair, or it's not fair. It's a big event that they do up here. But one of the mainstays of it is mini donuts, which you can smell them from a mile away, and they're delicious. They're just deep fried donuts with cinnamon and sugar on them.
But is there a better combination on the planet than cinnamon and sugar? Right,
right. This is you will smell this, like guaranteed. You'll be walking by in Toontown and you'll smell this, and you'll see people walking with just a bag of donuts. I can guarantee in the first week when these places open up, you'll just see people walking around with donuts.
That's totally true.
Yeah, try the donuts, people.
There you go. And then the last 2 things are just there's a watermelon lemonade, and which is nothing special, and then a cold brew. So if you need to get your coffee in, there's some coffee there too. So, So and this. So what is this other? It's just a bunch of snack size stuff too. So.
Yeah, the last thing they talked about was so this was all stuff offered at Cafe Daisy, and then they're saying you can go by Good Boy Grocers, which is it's a lot of grab and go stuff.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is they have something here called the Perfect Picnic Basket, which hold on, you pick up this basket, you pick 3 different items to put in it, and it's a to-go thing. But the way that they're selling, or the thing that's striking me from this is they're showing this picture, and there's a picnic blanket with this, and guaranteed you'll see people
doing this. Yeah,
people are going to be selling these baskets on eBay. I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
This area, it looks like a green space area with AstroTurf, kind of similar to the hub in Disney World.
Well, they've said that they're going to have a lot of green space in the new Toontown, right? Like that's
yeah. So that's the surprising part to me of this, is that I knew that, but I guess I always thought of I never thought about where that would be in Toontown, but this space, again, picture they're good at making a space look bigger than it is, but it looks like there'll be a fairly large space. You can go buy some of the stuff and go sit down in a green space and eat, which is something that's sorely missing in Disney. You don't realize it until you really think about it, that it's there's always you can always find tables and stuff like that, or you're sitting on a bench trying to eat your food and not have it fall all over you. But having a picnic space is a really, I hope this becomes a thing, right? That they have more spaces like this in the future.
Yeah, no, this is really a very cool concept. The idea of just straight up having a picnic at Disney, at a Disney park, right? It's literally they're selling all the items for a picnic, including the blanket, and you can just go and have a little picnic with your kids. That's just a really cool idea. I love it. Yeah. So that's all I got for this. And we can save the rest of the food for next week.
Let's sideline the rest because we could be here for another hour and we're already pushing.
Yeah, we could talk about food for a while. So we'll talk about the rest of the food next week for the Food and Wine at California. Also, they have a foodie guide specific for Women's History Month, which is kind of fun. And then awesome. a food guide for Princess Night at Disneyland. So a lot of Disneyland food, but I think the Women's History Month is probably also Disney World. So.
And the Disneyland food is good, and some of you aren't going to want to hear that. And Damon had to leave, so he's not here to refute me on this. The Disneyland food is good, and those of you that have been and you know what I'm talking about.
Are you trying to say the Disney World food is not good?
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying Disneyland food has its own special thing to it, and if you know, you know.
I got it. All right, let's wrap it up
into the red cart, but. Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up.
We're getting punchy. So yeah,
we're getting punchy. It's late. Yeah.
All right. So as usual, if you guys want to reach out to us, you can always email us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing your questions, sharing your trip reports, all that kind of stuff. So you keep it coming as usual. And if you want to check us out on social media platforms, you can find us on Facebook as Welcome Home Podcast and look for our group Welcome Home Disney Waitlist. Whereas we've talked about earlier in the episode that questions come from there. There's a lot of other great Disney experts in that group that make up our communities. So come join us and see what everybody's talking about. If you want to follow us on YouTube, you can find us on YouTube as Welcome Home Podcast, and you can find us on Instagram as Welcome Home Pics, which are great places to follow us whenever we do live shows or go to the parks. You can keep track of the updates of what we're up to. And if you'd like to help support the show, go to store.welcomehomepodcast.com and check out some of our different merchandise, mugs, t-shirts, all the usual merchandisey kind of stuff. So, and it all goes towards helping us do things like limited edition T-shirts. We've done giveaways in the past and stuff like that. All of the money from that goes towards just helping build this podcast, because what else are we going to do with that money, right?
Yeah.
And in a similar vein, if you prefer Patreon as a means of supporting platforms, on patreon.com/welcomehomepod. You can check out our different levels of support there. They all have exclusive merchandise that you can't get in the store. And anyone who supports us through Patreon also gets access to the Discord server, which is yet another place that we love talking with our fans and just having great conversations, Disney or otherwise. Because, people, I think people just like having a place to sit and chat, which is always good.
Yeah.
Last but not least, if you guys are listening to us on iTunes or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. It does help more people find the podcast, because we want more people to hear this stuff. I guess. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I think we do.
I think we do. I don't know. Why not? Yeah. If you want to share with your friends, give us a 5-star, and then also leave us a review, because we do like getting reviews from people. And Tom, I understand you've got a couple of new ones this week.
Yeah. So I got 2 5-star reviews here that I want to read. So this one says, "Great Disney podcast." This is from D. Austin and a whole bunch of numbers. Fun and informative podcast that covers Disney. They go over the news, listener questions, and occasionally down some entertaining rabbit holes. Occasionally. I feel like every show there's a rabbit hole of some sort. All 3 have different opinions, which may surprise you when answering listener questions. It certainly surprises me. All around solid podcast. Thank you, D. Austin. My favorite one, though, is no offense to you, D. Austin, but Family Time Listening is this one is titled. And this is from Guinevere. I don't know if that's your actual name, but that's your username. Recently discovered the show. Welcome. Thanks for starting to listen. My young sons and I listen every time we get in the car. My 9-year-old requests that I put it on. Catching up on previous episodes and looking forward to upcoming. Well, thanks for starting to listen to it. Like we were just talking about new people listen to us. Look at that. There's more people. So yeah. It makes me happy that our sons are into the show. So hey to your sons, Guinevere. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm actually surprised. I think so. I see another one here. We're obviously not looking at the same place for reviews.
Do you want to read one? Sure, go.
Yeah. Ahead. So the title is a UPSer fan.
Oh, we read that one already.
No, we did not.
A couple weeks ago.
No, I don't remember this.
You sure?
No, because the last one we read was the TNDVC fan where they gave you a 4. And you didn't like that.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure I read this one, but if you want to read it, go ahead.
Yeah. So they just said just discovered the show and been listening to the back catalog, and they can say there's at least one UPS driver who listens to the show at work. Hopefully, there's more than one UPS driver.
I would hope so.
That would be cool. I mean, I guess tell your friends.
Yeah, tell your other UPS drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah. You reading the rest? Is that it?
Yeah, that was the only one I saw. I didn't remember because I
swear we read that one, but I
didn't remember seeing that one last week.
Well, also don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, just about any podcast app out there. You can find us. Just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, all opinions we express on the show are our own. So please consult a Disney cast member, DVC cast member for more information about anything we talked about today. Huge thank you, as always, to our sponsor of this episode, DVC Rental Store, and of course, World of DVC for their support over the years. Please go and check them out for all of your DVC needs. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit its hair. How she can cuddle is no